Hey, everybody, welcome to Shooting Left of Center podcast. I am joined, as usual, by no Never Enough Ammo tonight. Since he moved up north, I think he's too good for us. But Gun Websites is here, so there's two of us tonight. So feel free to ask whatever questions you want to ask, have us cover whatever topics you want us to cover. We'll be here for the next 35 minutes or so, so feel free to ask whatever you want to ask. Are there any topics you want to discuss specifically tonight? Other than Val Kilmer passing?
No, that was the only thing I was thinking about.
Yeah. I remember when it came in, he must have died like not yesterday, but the night before, like pretty late at night.
It was the first.
It was like I started seeing stuff about it at like 3:00 in the morning when it first started coming across.
Well, it happened on April 1st, so I suspect some people probably needed to verify it first, right?
Yeah.
Like after they first saw it.
Yeah, I guess. But like I said, welcome. Like I said, this is an open chat. You can ask whatever you want to ask. Let me go over and see if there's any questions coming in. I usually start these chats by reading if anybody bought any merchandise, but I don't think we sold any merchandise today, so we don't got to do that. Plus, I don't know if I would anyway, since it's a different chat. But let's get over here. Let's see what we got coming in today as far as questions are concerned. Boom. What is today? Today's the 3rd. Gerald Pompa donated to the Pets and Vets Fund, but didn't say anything. He did get an entry into the double super secret rock giveaway, though, as did John Heasley, who said, I'm going to win just to hurt your feelings. Ugh. Pisses me off. He won 2 guns from me recently. So of the guns I give away, I give guns away every month. So far, he's got 2.
Was this a luck thing, or was this like by purchasing a majority of things? Or
he got most of the entries.
Okay.
Is one of the ways he won. To get my chance up to 50%, he's got like a 40% chance of winning right now because he's got most of the entries. He's overpowering people through overspending. Hail Phil, what does G-Webs think of the quality of US-made AKs? Oh, there's a good question for you.
I consider the quality to be the mechanism, the system, the whole thing, and they've proven themselves for recreational use, but the real ones prove themselves through actual use. Which is 99% of the time just being yanked around by regular people, right? Like dragged around through whatever life they've been living, and then once in a while had to use them, maybe, like not even all the time. And I think that's the difference. Is our guns are basically built, they're pampered until you buy them, because you wouldn't even want to buy it with a scratch on it. You take it home and you put it in a safe and you pamper it, you put little rubber things on it so it doesn't get all scratched up, and then you never drop it, you never look at it funny, you clean it all the time. So they're so pampered that I can't say that they're given any kind of stress or whatever, but at the same time they're made off of the same designs, and they're made, competently. But so my opinion is I like AKs because they were built to kill us back in the Cold War days, and since we won the Cold War diplomatically, we were able to purchase them as capitalists and own the things that were built to kill us. And some people would say we bankrupted those countries, by them building these things. So that's what I thought was cool about them, is that in the 2004 era, we were able to bring these things over for less than $100 a pop and own things that were made to kill us, right? And having an echo of it from today, it's neat, but it's not the same. So for me, they're not on my radar because I've already got some AKs. So, I'm not in the purchase mode, and I don't want to talk shit about them. It's just that I'm more of that, I guess, is it collector or is it nostalgia? I don't know what I am, but my opinion of AKs is
an enthusiast, I would say.
And then I thought it was really neat from maybe the 2005 to 7, maybe whenever I got in this club, that I hung out with some people that were really interested in researching the AK, and it was very, very difficult to research because the factories and stuff didn't keep records. And then with the internet and capitalism and people being interested, more and more people came out of the woodwork from those factories and from those eras and started to document stuff. So books were written. So researching AKs was just an interesting, like a very, very interesting thing as the internet was becoming a thing and more countries were becoming online, and you know, just being there, one of the people like researching it. It was really neat. You know, there's only so many books written about it. Most of the stuff is online, and it was really neat to be there during that, whatever, like, what'd you call that? Like that growth or that era. So anyway, AKs are kind of unique. ARs are similar, and FALs are pretty close, right? Because there's a lot of FALs, and FALs are all over the place, and a lot of people build FALs. But we just don't have the FALs in this country that we have AKs in this country because they cost too much.
I mean, yeah, a few, but not a whole ton.
So there's my random answer. I'm not going to give you like buy a PSA because I just don't know. Like they're fine probably.
I've never enough ammo likes them, I guess. We would know if he showed up for the chat. Huh?
He made a whole rant about how much he loves PSA the other day, which is no different than like what 11 years ago or whatever. He'd have been making the same rant.
Yeah, he's always liked them. I mean, and I've just recently had experience with some PSA stuff and been very pleased with it. I was surprised. I'm like, wow, you pay this little amount and you get this good of a product. I was pretty impressed by them. In fact, I gave away one gun that's back there on the wall that John Heasley will be getting soon. And then I'm giving away another one here to people. Maybe John Heasley again, unfortunately. But we'll see. Let's see if any other questions have come in here. Joe Pearson chimed in and said, just another try to counter the Heasley monsters percentage. Yes, and that's what I'm trying to tell people. Not everybody's got to try to donate as much as John Heasley does. Just if everybody got one entry, it would wipe him down to where he had way less chance. Not everybody has to get, don't have to cheat like him and stuff the ballot box. Well, I guess it's not cheating if you're paying for the entries. Like if you go to a raffle and they're selling 1,000 tickets and you buy 500 tickets, that's not cheating. You just have a way better chance of winning than everybody else.
Is there a finite number? Like, is there a cap?
No, it ain't gonna be that many people. Okay. So my fundraisers always fail miserably. This is the only one that might actually make a profit for the channel. Otherwise, my fundraisers for like animal charities and stuff like that go well every year. We've donated over $100,000 to animal charities. But when I try to do one to like benefit my channel, like, join Patreon and win this, or join Subscribestar and win this, or, any of those things, fails miserably. I end up spending way more money on the prizes than I get in support. So it's nice to see one of these actually start doing kind of well. Let's see if we got any more questions coming in here. This is the first time I've ever had one go well. Jonathan Ho chimed in, but he didn't say anything. We all know why, but he posthumously chimed in here, so Phil stays out of his business. Remember, losers, pay your tithe to Phil. Most machine guns can be set to semi-auto to only fire 1 round per trigger pull. Well, yeah, you got select fire. You got like 3-round burst, fully automatic, single fire, but I just don't have a big use in my life for fully automatic rifles. Now,
many, not most. Honestly, I don't think because there's a lot of them that are full auto. Period.
Just full auto. Period. Yeah. Well, they're just set up to where they're like not that expensive or complicated of a mechanism.
No, it's actually simpler. He invented that first, and then he invented semi-auto.
It's real easy to keep that bolt going once it gets going. 819. You see now, old fart. What? Oh, 819. It's 819. It was 819 in wherever it was he was at. So yeah, okay, yeah, so 619 here, so it was 819 there. I think I said 719. You watched Val as Batman. Yes, I did. I watched Val Kilmer's Batman. Val Kilmer was underrated as Mad Mardigan in the movie Willow. I've never seen Willow. I didn't know he was in it.
Well, I don't like Willow.
You don't like Willow?
That has what's his face in
against midgets?
Well, that also, no, it was, no, actually, yeah, because whatever that guy is in that movie was in too many movies back then, like way too many movies. So, and David Bowie's in it. And I don't want to see singers as actors. Yeah, but I mean, I like to separate my shit. Like, I don't like, that's what I was going to say about Val Kilmer too, is sometimes it's like Batman. I don't like seeing people I know. I'd rather see like an unknown as a Batman.
Oh, I would much rather whenever they're starting a character on in a movie series or something. Whenever I'm like, oh, they're going to make this movie, I'm so looking forward to this movie, and then they're like, and we've cast the main role as Tom Cruise. I'm like, well, then fuck, the movie's ruined.
Yeah, they ruined it.
Yeah,
Like that Daredevil show. I was just watching that again because they came out with a version of it, like a newer version of that, the TV show, and that was some guy I'd never seen before. I was like, yeah, that's
I
good.
didn't know who Charlie Cox was when he started. And the guy that plays Kingpin, I knew he was on one of those crime shows that old people watch, but I never watched it. So he was new to me. And his portrayal of Kingpin, even though he's not a giant monster guy, his portrayal, kind of a real life portrayal of Kingpin, is perfect. I just love his Kingpin. Best I've ever seen it done. So I really like that series.
I guess it's not David Bowie. I can't remember who was in Willow. But whoever was in Willow, I didn't like it.
David Bowie was in Labyrinth.
Maybe that's what I'm mixing those two movies up because I didn't like either one of them.
I saw
They're very similar. They're both at the same time.
Well, it's that kind of fantasy type of thing.
Yeah, that was
Labyrinth
cool
one though, where it's not real, that she's just imagining it because she's in like World War II, or is that a different one?
I've only seen both of those movies once whenever they came out, and then like that's what got me out of the house is like when Labyrinth or Willow would be on HBO all day and be like, all right, well, HBO's ruined. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, exactly. What happened to the good old days when it was Incredible Shrinking Woman and Beastmaster 30 times a day?
Yeah, seriously. Well, was Beastmaster ever on HBO? I guess.
Oh God, yes, it was on.
But like when Mad Max was on, like you say, I'd watch Mad Max over and over.
Oh yeah, I watched Mad Max 113 times. Yeah. That's one of my favorite all-time movies. I've seen it more than I think the only movie I've seen more than Mad Max is E.T.
For when you were saying about how that was your first movie, I think Terminator was the first movie I bought because I like Terminator a lot.
Terminator, I loved that movie when it came out. I loved that movie. I saw it probably 20 or 30 times in the movie theaters because that's back when movies were the only thing to do on the weekends. And we wouldn't just go watch one movie. We'd go pay for the early movie, and then we'd stay for like all 3 showings throughout the day.
Stay until you got sick of it.
Yep, just like hang out and go from theater to theater. If you left like your movie, like if you knew, like I've seen this already, so I know that there's like 2 minutes left, and it's basically just closing up, and you could leave if you left before the crowd. It was really easy to go into another movie that hadn't started yet. No one would even notice you. I don't think they really even watched either.
Yeah, we had like this whole like operation, and I don't think they cared at all. They probably were laughing. Like,
they probably knew, and they're like, these kids think they're slick. We don't give a shit because they're buying soda and popcorn for every movie. So
that's the thing. We'd come out and buy a new soda all the time. It's not like we were saving any money, really. Well, we were saving some money, I guess, but we were still spending money. Yeah, and that's what they spend there. That's what they That's where they make their money is on the soda.
When I used to go to the matinee was $1.50 to go see the matinee. It was $1 in one theater, $1.50 in another. But it was $5 to get a Coke and a popcorn, and they would refill it, but you had to get a Coke. And then eventually they started putting a mark on the bucket, like what showing you bought the popcorn for, and they wouldn't refill it for another showing. They'd still refill the soda, but you'd have to buy another popcorn, which was like another $2 for a thing of popcorn. Because for $5, you got a candy bar, a bag of popcorn, or a bucket of popcorn, and a soda. So, but $5 was a lot of money back then. You gotta remember that was the 70s. Well,
I guess for me it was the 80s, but I can't remember anymore what the money situation was anymore.
70s and 80s. I remember mostly is the early 80s because that's when I was really going a lot by myself. Although I did go by myself when I was real young because we had a little theater in my hometown. We didn't have to cross the river and go into Galplis, a little state theater. And I remember going up there and seeing it was one of the Bigfoot movies, and I'm blanking on the name of it now. It wasn't Boggy Creek. It was a different one. Might have been Boggy Creek, but I think it was a different one. But I went to see it by myself, and I was like 8 years old. And when I went in, it was daylight. I came out, it was dark, because it started at like 7 in the summertime. I was so panicked. I was so panicked. I had to walk. I should have rode my bike home because I rode my bike there. But when I came out of the theater, I was so panicked that as soon as I hit the doors, I ran. And it's about 3.5 miles through the woods. If you took the back way to go down through the baseball fields and go up through the woods to get to my house in the back roads back there, I think I ran the whole 3 fucking miles at full tilt. I puked when I got home from running. And then I remembered I left my bicycle at the movie theater and we had to go back and get it the next morning. And that was the thing about living in a small town back then. It was still there when I went back next morning to get it. Imagine leaving your bike somewhere now and still be there. Let's see, where were we at? Let me make sure I've got all the questions answered over here. Jeffrey Vaughn paid his $2 tithe to Phil and said, what are both of your thoughts on rebarreling an antique Winchester 1895 manufactured high wall model? It was already rebarreled and a scope mount to the barrel in the late 30s. Well, I mean, if it's not the original barrel, you're not talking as big a decision here, I don't think. But still, there might be a lot of people that put collector's value on even just a barrel from the 30s. So it depends on if you're using it as an operational firearm, or is it something that's on display over a mantle or whatever. If you're just going to be displaying it on a mantle, leave it as is. Don't change anything on it. If you're using it as operational, well, then make it as operational as it can be. Don't take risks with your safety over the perceived secondary market value of a gun. What do you think?
I'm thinking, since there's it's a little open, because rebarreling it that's been rebarreled, like, and it's got a scope mount, so rebarreling it back to like virgin, like if it's a family gun, you're putting it back. Like, I could almost see that, because you can get some good gunsmiths that could do that. But I agree with you on everything else. But man, if it's,
I didn't think of that aspect.
That's the only thing I could think of, because otherwise I'm in that group of leave it because it's a 1930s mod. And here's what I think. I think that this will happen. Now, tell me, we've never talked about this, I don't think, but I've maybe had this conversation in my head or with other people on other different chats. But so there's all these. So World War II happens, and everybody comes home from World War II, and everybody starts modding their guns. Did all these like garage mods to their guns, and we've got all. And for a long time, we called them Bubba or whatever. And we laughed at them, and we consider them lost value. And then everybody wants the real stuff. Well, we know there's finite amounts, even though there seem to have been piles of this stuff. Every flood, every fire, every lost thing, every there's all these things that are dwindling the pile or the inventory of old guns. So I think there are a lot of old guns, but people appreciate them now more than they ever did, and there's more gun owners. So as like a Mosin Nagant, something better than Mosin, like a World War II gun that somebody might have brought home, like an Arisaka or something. If somebody brought one of them home and it's cherry, okay, like I totally get that. Don't touch it, leave it, and don't even shoot it. Like, just that's worth a museum. It's like a museum thing you can own. But if somebody modified it, I think there's something to that, because so many people are going to either take it back to cherry or just discard it because it's not cherry. And I think that there's going to be like a renaissance, maybe it's not a huge one, but there's going to be some renaissance, because like everyone's going to already own all the cherry ones, the real ones, and now that's like, what do we look at now? What do we buy? Well, now all these mods.
Yeah, you start trying to find ones that have a specific mod from a specific period.
That's what I was going to say. Is now you're going to go, okay, well, I've got all of them, and there's only like 6 Mosin Nagants, but I got a Mosin Nagant that Bannerman modded into 30-06 or something that was like a factory mod, or I can get a some other, like a Springfield that somebody modded with such and such a bolt mod that everybody did because it cleared the scope better or something like that. So I think, or maybe there's gunsmiths that are out there that are famous or will be famous, and people will want to get, there's only 1,000 guns that he modded or something.
Yep. Well, a perfect example of what you're talking about in the collector's world is people used to collect antique cigarette boxes. They were valuable to collect, but there were a lot of them that were ruined because hobos would carve on them when they had them. And then people, that the same people that were like, oh, that this was in mint condition, it'd be worth $50, but since someone carved on it, it's worthless. Throw it away or keep it because it has sentimental value. Well, then eventually people started wanting the ones that were carved by hobos, the hobo boxes, and those are worth way more now than collectible cigar boxes.
And like you said, there's probably a couple of hobos that like, oh, this guy did mermaids or whatever. We wanted those.
That's the way it is now in the collectible box. You can look back at ones and say, this one was probably done in Nevada or, on this train line, because they used, they put these symbols on it that were common sights you'd see from riding the train line in this part of the country. And, there's all kind, or this guy was known to carve these for people in his town in exchange for food, or, so they're very valuable now.
Well, like I told you, looking at, trying to discover and find the stories of all the what the meanings are of all the different engravings on the AKs was such a fun, kind of time. That's going to be the same way. Like with the internet and stuff, we're going to be able to, people or collectors are going to be able to look at like old photos and go, oh, look, here's a photo, from some gun club or whatever, and you can see that mod, and that means that so and so did it in Ohio instead of California, like everyone thought, or something.
Yeah, exactly. And there's things like that with the Civil War too. It's like there was old rifles and stuff that people from certain regiments would put certain kind of carvings on the wood stocks of their guns and stuff.
Yeah.
So
and again, people would be like, "Oh, I don't want that one. It's all carved up." And then later they're like, "Do you have any of those carved ones? Because those are actually more."
Exactly. John Heasley chimed in again and said, "Just stuff in the box." And then Jeffrey Beeson chimed in and says, "For Phil and super secret rock, double super secret rock giveaway." Let's see if we got any questions coming in here. So if soda was taken out of the street, would you survive of it? I don't know what that means.
Like if they made soda illegal? I haven't been drinking soda in a long time. I'd be all right.
I would live, but I wouldn't be happy about it. I'd probably be part of the Great Soda Rebellion.
Even though I'm not a sodaist anymore, I would definitely fight for the soda. Like,
because first they came for the soda, and then they came for the milkshakes. So, let's see here. They actually did try to make. Didn't they try to make like giant sodas, like sodas above a certain size? Yeah,
I think Bloomberg did it.
Yep. What about pistol braces? Isn't a more stable gun a good thing? Well, pistol braces are not for stabilizing your gun. They're a workaround SBR laws. If SBRs became just a normal thing tomorrow, like, no one cared anymore what the barrel length was on a rifle, well, pistol braces wouldn't freaking exist because there's not enough handicapped people that would need one.
Some people would use them, but yeah.
Yeah, but they would never been a big market item like they were. They would have just been like, who would want this fucking thing? I'll just put a stock on it and wrap a strap to the stock.
Although I think people would like the idea of like, what's the word? Like alternate material stocks at this point. Like they'd want, soft rubber ones that give a little bit and that kind of thing.
At a track meet in Frisco, Texas, a 17-year-old sprinter stabbed his 16-year-old opponent to death. Always carry. Well, did he get demerits or disqualified for poor sportsmanship? I think that should get you disqualified for poor sportsmanship.
Yeah, I don't think you can carry while you're racing, so that wouldn't.
Well, and you're not supposed to. I don't care, but they carry when they're racing. That just hurts them. Makes it more weight they're carrying. But you're not supposed to stab your opponent to death. I'm pretty sure that's in the rules.
Yeah. Well, if they made lives illegal, like I've always said, then we'd be fine. We wouldn't have had that problem.
Exactly. Oh, I wonder though if at the end of the match, did they have to look in the rule book and see, does it say anywhere you can't stab your opponent?
Did you see the one girl that hit the other girl with this baton when they were running? This was like weeks ago, but it's similar kind of thing. Well, then we got killed, but somebody was running and she like hit this girl and it looks to me like she hits the girl, but she goes, "Oh, I was just flailing my arm."
Yeah, I didn't mean to clock her in the skull. The owner of a Camping World in Tennessee was told to take down his American flag because it's too big. It's double the size allowed by ordinance. Okay, that sounds like more of a local zoning issue to me than anything else. The guy who won Demo Ranch's dually truck literally only bought one t-shirt one time. Many people bought a lot hoping to win, and that guy ended up with like for $25 shirt. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust some people, but I don't know if that story's true. Sometimes you make up stories to make it seem like, well, everybody needs to participate. It's like now it's like one of the $1 million winners for Musk turned out to be the leader of the Republican group for the state that he won in. So that looks a little suspicious. And then the one woman said, I did what I was supposed to. I voted the way he told me to, and I won $1 million. And now they're looking into that because that's actually technically illegal. It's like, don't these people know this stuff? Don't run your mouth. Jack Hughes for him to see your question. Hey, G-Webs and Yank, whatever happened to Haas USMC? Didn't he get married and have a kid? And
I don't know about the kid. I know he got married and He goes to Mexico and builds stuff, and he's been building stuff. I think he's more of a builder than a YouTuber now.
Yeah, he was always a builder, though. He always worked in building trades, because when he would come up here, he would be up here on a building site doing something, like working on someone's house or something, and we'd go to lunch or something. But he was always up on like a tradesman kind of deal. But yeah, I haven't seen him in years. Last time I saw him was at SHOT Show.
Same here. Maybe, I can't remember. Many years ago now.
Yeah. I'm going to stuff the box as full as possible. Well, yeah, your wife's going to find out and you're going to get in trouble. Kilmer was good in The Saint. Was that like a remake of The Saint from TV, Roger Moore, The Saint? Because Roger Moore was The Saint to me. I don't think I've ever seen Val Kilmer as The Saint. I went to the movies this week, $9 for popcorn and $7.50 for soda with one free refill. I ended up spending $50 for myself, not including the ticket. It's expensive. If the four of us, when we used to go together as a family, which we don't do that much anymore. Well, I don't go to the movies anymore. It's just too many people, and it would be over $100 for four of us to go to the movies. We would get like one bucket of popcorn for us to share. Everybody get one candy item and a soda. And by the time we paid for tickets, it was over $100. So I'm just like, these movies, after you watch a bunch of bad movies for $100, you start saying, I don't want to watch bad movies for $100 anymore.
And when I was a kid going, like you said, like we would go and it was an experience and there was not a lot of other choices and it was what we were doing. But last time I went to a movie, there was somebody, was it the last time? I don't know, either the last time or the last two times I went to a movie, somebody was eating something with tinfoil behind me. Mm-hmm. So like eating like spaghetti or some shit out of tinfoil, which is annoying. Yep. And it might have been the same movie. Some girl to our left was trying not to let her boyfriend be disturbed by her phone. So we're looking at her phone, like she's texting, pointing it at us so her boyfriend doesn't see it. And it's like, why am I paying for this? Like just so I can see it a little bit bigger than on a TV. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not like it's loud or good music or anything. The only thing I could think of is something like a Star Wars or something with a lot of spaceships. Maybe I would want to watch on a big screen, but I do not care about watching two people talk to each other on a big screen at all.
I do not care at all about that anymore. Even if it's like movies that I would want to see on a big screen, I would still rather. I've got my TV's only 86 inches. I've been bitching lately because now there's 100 ones that are affordable, and I'm like, I can't believe I've got this, ghetto
86 inches. Yeah. It's not even in the century numbers.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I've been bitching about that home, kind of testing the waters on a bigger TV. So far, I get a nasty look every time I say it.
You know what? Ghost in the Darkness? Is that the one where he's shooting lions? There's a lion hunting movie with Val Kilmer. That might be an interesting, like a safari movie might be interesting to see on a big screen.
Big screen, yeah. Well, I'll just sit close to my television.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, totally.
If I want to have to turn my head to see everything, I'll just sit close to the TV.
Eat what you want, wear what you want, pause it if you want.
Go to the bathroom without having to know, does anything happen over the next 5 minutes? And then have to come back and go, did anything happen when I was gone?
And that wasn't a thing like back in the old days. Like, because you know what? You weren't going to watch TV. Like TV, it's the same thing. You went to the bathroom, you missed TV. There was VCRs. You finally got to pause.
Yeah.
I mean, we get VCRs in the 80s. So like, I mean, I can't even think of the last time I couldn't just pause. Like, I'm not going to go to a movie. I can pause at home. Why would I want to go somewhere where I can't pause?
Especially now, because when I was a kid, I could sit through a movie without pissing my pants. As an adult now, I can't do that now. I'm not making it. I'm not going to be drinking a soda that's as big as my torso and make it through a 2-hour movie without going to the bathroom.
Plus, I can't watch a 2-hour movie at 8 o'clock and still be awake at the end. I got to watch it like 3 times before I see the whole thing.
I don't have that problem. I'm not an early to bed person. I'm a late to bed person. Ha ha ha. So you used to be a hobo, said Kevin Payton. Well, no, I wasn't a hobo. He did say hobo, right? But no, I was never a hobo. I was homeless one time for a while when I was in college, but was never a hobo. Because I don't have one of those little sacks on a stick. That's what separates homeless people from hobos.
Hobo bindle?
Yeah, you got to have one of those little
Handle.
kerchief tied to a stick, and you got to have a top hat or a bowler cap.
A little piece of chalk to write your little hobo signs on stuff.
Yeah,
Symbols.
got to have that if you're gonna be a hobo. This was Jeffrey Vaughn chimed in, says the antique Winchester would be a fun gun to with actual use. Scope mount and straight walled 22 Hornet 270 rim. Think 27 Magnum. So they're saying that they would just use the gun, I guess, as a usable gun. Let's see here. We got any questions coming in over here?
Now, would I rechamber it? Like if the barrel was completely ate out and just gross, would I rechamber it bigger to something that, like just a different caliber, I guess? Maybe. I guess if I knew the gunsmith was competent and could, handle it, and it was a caliber that I would think about shooting. But if it turned into some goofy caliber, then maybe not 22B or something.
Yeah. Paul, trench art of World War I is big bucks. Yeah, trench art is big bucks. And some of that stuff, you think it's like it's going to be cheesy. There were some artists in the trenches back in the day. It seemed like back in World War II and even in the Civil War and even World War II, it's like almost every man was somehow competent with a carving knife. Like it's something you just did if you were growing up.
Well, think about it. Driving over there, like they had to be on a boat. So yeah, they probably had a lot of time to sit around thinking about their mortality, right? Like because they're about to go do some stuff that maybe they didn't come back from.
Well, yeah, but they all had this skill. It seemed like they knew how to do it. I'm like, how many kids nowadays would, if you gave them a knife and a piece of wood, would know how to carve? But it seemed like it must have been a common thing back then because it was so prevalent.
Well, you didn't have Star Wars figures, so you had to whittle your own Star Wars figures back then.
Exactly. Well, my grandfather used to whittle me toys. He used to carve me intricate toy guns that looked just like real guns, and then he would paint them and shellac them and everything. I was the only kid in town that had guns that looked like real single action armies made out of wood.
That's pretty cool. Do you still got them? Any of them?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I do still have a horse he carved me when I was a kid because he was a master woodworker. He could carve anything. I have a horse he carved, and I have where he would turn beer cans into rocking chairs. You see people that did that where they thread them and then weave them together and make a rocking chair out of a beer can. So he would do stuff like that. He did a lot of like hobo art, basically. He wasn't a hobo either. He worked on the riverboats. Theaters I go to don't put up with bad behavior. They'll kick people out quick. Can't even show up late because they won't let you in, and they back it up. Also, no kids or teens. Hardly. I know some theaters around here that are 21 and over. You have to be 21 to go to the movies. And they're nice. They're like, they call them living room theaters. They have like recliners, and they have a menu where you can order stuff brought to you in the theater, and there's no kids allowed. But the tickets
I could handle that maybe, but I don't know. Like if you're just not feeling it, you got to smell somebody's spaghetti or something like that might be weird. But I think I could also deal with it. It's like a restaurant kind of, right? But you're all watching a movie.
One of the bad experiences we had recently in the movie theaters, we went to the theater, and I swear to God, it was 3/4 empty. Wasn't hardly anybody there, but some guy came and sat right in front of us. Of course. And he stunk so bad. I mean, just like the guy, he was a hippie looking guy with dreads, white guy with dreads, and he stunk so bad. He smelled like patchouli and BO really bad. And I didn't want to be like rude and move, but I finally said, I can't sit here anymore. So we backed up a couple of rows to make it a little better. All right, let's see. Where was I? Did you and Caden engrave the cover plate? I tried a couple tests last night. It did not work. For one thing, I forgot that it's the table that moves. With most laser engravers, the engraving head moves. But with this, the way it's set up as a 3D printer and engraver, the table moves. So the thing I was trying to test engrave on slid as it was moving because it's kind of a jerky movement. So I got to like double-sided tape it down or something. I learned that lesson last night. It's called a kit and caboodle. Is that what they call Would you call it the hobo sack?
Oh, I called it a bindle. That's what I always thought it was
Bindle?
called. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. I just call them a hobo sack. You just grab your hobo sack. Of course, that could probably get you in trouble. Grabbing hobo sacks get you a lot of trouble. Let's see here. Are we all caught up with everything? Because I think we're about out of time. We're caught up over there. We're caught up over there. And I think we're out of chat questions over here too. So we kind of timed it perfectly. We babbled just enough that we ran out of questions. But like I said, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I appreciate it. You got any last things you want to say, G-Webs?
No, thanks for hosting. Hopefully Matt will join.
One of these days, hopefully, you know. I wonder if he's still alive. Is he still alive? They might have killed him.
I watched him chatting the other day just to see if he was still chatting or what, talking about movies. Because I usually get my movie stuff from Matt. Like, I don't know too many people that watch movies as much as him. So
yeah, I don't watch any hardly. So, although I did watch a movie the other day and it was so bad. Here's what they did that really lost me. It was a bad werewolf movie, and it was, you know, not good. It was a bad werewolf movie.
A new one or some old one?
It was a new one. The werewolves themselves were really good. Like they blew their whole budget on the werewolves because the actors couldn't act, and it was just kind of a weird storyline. They didn't bother to write a real story, I don't think. But at one point, they're out in the woods and they're running from the werewolves. They're like in a jungle, and they get out of a building and they're running through the woods, and they find these huts with tiki torches. So they're like, we're going to hide here from the werewolves. So they jump in one, they hide from the werewolves. And even though the werewolves are like 10 feet from them and they're lit up with tiki torches, the werewolves don't see them and they go away. And the guy goes, all right, well, luckily I brought these. And he gets out, he's got a bullet mold. And he's got some silver, like silverware and loose silver, you know. And he's like, we're going to melt this down. So they put it over one of the tiki torches that's sitting there, a little oil tiki torch. They melt down the silver. And I'm like, well, that's not going to melt silver. But let's suspend belief for a minute. So he gets out his bullet mold and he pours the silver they just melted over the tiki torch into the molds. And I'm like, okay, so far he's very resourceful. And then he does the clack clack to open up the mold to pop the bullets out. And he goes clack clack and pops open the mold, and fully loaded bullets pop out, in the casings. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this one. it's just too stupid. But yeah,
that's a little odd.
Yeah, that. You had to suspend a lot there. But all right, everybody, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.